Hey everybody, welcome back to Unrecognized Gamepad Edition, Unregistered Hypercam 2 Northernlion, The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus, Booster Pack number 76 edition, 28AZ3TR6. So, when it rains, it pours. Like, I understand, believe it or not. I mean, I'm not like I don't have a PhD in combinatoric mathematics. But I understand on, you know, a decent level, probability, variance, and how, you know, if you were to pick two random people sitting in a stadium, just because the two people are sitting next to each other doesn't mean some kind of collusion happened. However, you're gonna have to go a long way to convince me, that D-Infinity doesn't have a correlation with, like, the D100, D4, etc., etc. It seems like so frequently when we have a run where we get a full run reroll sort of item, we also have a high chance of getting that in the future as well. I don't know, man. I don't make the rules. I don't even know. I mean, I've played so many runs. You know, you guys know Plato's myth of the cave? It's the idea that, you know, as mankind, we're trying to glean information and perspective about, you know, the meaning of life and the machinations of the universe, but really, all we're seeing are the shadows being broadcast onto the cave wall based on the little bit of campfire that we got going on around us. You know, we might not be seeing, yo, that's very good, the proximate causes of everything. We might just be seeing the antecedents. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I feel about Isaac, having played 4,000 runs or something ridiculous. I am very entrenched in the superstitions that I have surrounding the game, but if anything, the amount that I've played it at some point might actually serve a little bit as a reason to discount what I'm saying. Because I can no longer approach the game through the objective mindset that analysis requires and should be beholden to. I started this off with a lot of pseudo-intellectual nonsense. I apologize. Fart, burp. I ain't playing around. Make one wrong move, I'll sit you down. Get back, Twitch chat. Y'all don't know me like that. Ludicrous, Sinvicta, 2017. Okay. Take me down to the next floor. I don't want to re-roll yet. I want to see where our HP lies. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Okay, start by blowing this up, because, like, we will re-roll, just for the record, and I think we'll do it immediately. We got Beelzebub already. We also have chocolate milk. I think, oh my god, it's not even the D100, it is the D-Infinity. I should have known based on the fact that it only took 2 rooms to charge, but it's okay. So, I mean, I apologize in whatever way I can apologize for the game giving me the same overpowered item 2 times in a row. If any, pardon me. If anything, it just gives us more time to talk, more time to discuss, you know, non-Isaac related stuff, which is kind of what we're here for to begin with. Ah, crap. Never mind. What do I care about a deal with the devil right now? It's like inconsequential. I've got potential rushing and rushing around. The killers, that's right. As you can probably tell from my voice, I'm feeling a lot better. Sometime yesterday, I mean, it's not perfect. You can still tell there's a little bit of hoarseness there, but I knew I was good because I woke up and I had not covered my pillowcase in a thin layer of mucus. You guys know what it's like. We're a leaky species, okay? When I woke up and my pillowcase was dry and not gross, I was like, oh, dude. I'm in the clear. I'm feeling a lot better. So, it's nice, you know, I still have, like... I mean, I don't want to use the term PTSD lightly, but I have, like, associated minor trauma. Let's just call it that. About... Nah. Illness in the summertime, especially after last summer. Like, I went to my parents' house like the last week of June, caught some kind of super bug, was ill until the middle of July. Kate caught it, like, in the final few days that I had it, and she was sick almost the entirety of July. Like, last summer, for the Laterno household, did not exist. We had, like, a couple of weeks in nice weather in June, then we stayed inside for about 30 days straight. And then it was August, and the whole province was on fire. So, you know, I'm happy that this appears to be just a minor blip in the road. Plus, it means that unlike last time, I don't have to spend weeks and weeks starting every episode by talking about my feelings about, you know, infectious disease, which is really nice. However, because I'm not leaving the house that much, we're still a little light on the anecdotes, you know what I mean? But I will say, I rediscovered... Let me rephrase. You know, I'm always saying, I'm going to build a bit here, because this floor might take us a while with our current DPS. I'm always saying, you know, your feelings on a subject... I mean, you don't have to do this. It's not irresponsible not to do this. But sometimes it can benefit you to reevaluate your feelings on a subject, you know, every few years. Obviously, you don't have to do it for absolutely everything on planet Earth. That's ridiculous. And I think probably as you get older, you know, when you get into, like, adulthood, you don't have to reevaluate it that much. I mean, I don't want to say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, because I don't think that that's true. But, you know, if you tried, like, celery when you were 55 years old, and you're like, I don't really like it, I don't really think, you know, you necessarily have to try it when you're 65. I think you might be totally fine on that one. You might be okay. But if you tried broccoli when you were 5, and you're like, I don't like it, try broccoli when you're 20, because you might, like, that's one where I think finally the perception is changing about broccoli. When I was growing up, and I think for, like, generations before that, both broccoli and spinach were, like, the grossest vegetables. In media, it was always like, I don't want to eat my broccoli. I don't want to eat it. Well, spinach is gross. Yeah, maybe because Popeye's eating spinach out of a freaking can, dude. They didn't have the same kind of logistics network that we have now that gets fresh produce around, you know, the entire world. You had to can spinach. You're eating canned leaves. I don't recommend it. Grab it. Reroll. Oh, dude. Oh. Like, but dude, though. It's so good. We're gonna reroll Brimstone. Don't freak out. Anyway. I lived in Korea for a year. I don't know if you realize that, because I haven't mentioned it for approximately 5 or 6 seconds. But I lived in Korea for a year. And one of the foods that I had never eaten before I went to Korea, and there's going to be a big, like, bifurcation in the community right now. Some people that live in perhaps a major, or at least, like, medium-sized urban center are going to be like, how have you never had this food prior to, you know, living in a different continent? And then some people who lived in a town the size of the town that I grew up in are going to be like, what the heck is that? That's where I was at. It's a food called shabu shabu, also known as hot pot. Also known as nabe, I suppose. Anyway, it's basically a boiling pot of broth. And then they, if you're at a restaurant, you know, you order like, hey, we'll take like some vegetables. We'll take like this cut of beef, this cut of pork. We'll take some weird gluten-based dishes and, you know, the yada yadas. Hold on a second here. What do you got for me? Hanged Man? Okay, here's what we're going to do. Drop Hanged Man. Reroll this. Pop in here. Grab this. Reroll it. We do want the D4. So give me a moment to charge this all up. So I had shabu shabu in Korea a few times. It was a relatively popular dish, but it's a little expensive, right? So it's for like special occasions. It's never really been my favorite dish. Since I got back from Korea, I have had shabu shabu 0 times, aka hot pot. And it's kind of a shame, you know, because Vancouver, I mean, I'm kind of going on hearsay here. What I've heard is that Vancouver and, like, the British Columbia Lower Mainland in general has some of the best Chinese food in the world, like, including Hong Kong, China, you know, etc., etc. I know Hong Kong is China, you know what I mean, like, you know, Hong Kong and mainland China. Thank you, I appreciate it. But we just don't eat that much Chinese food. But Kate went out for lunch yesterday with a friend of hers. They got a hot pot. She brought home leftovers, which I didn't even know you could do. I guess you could just put the broth in containers and then take the dry ingredients home. Anyway, we had it for leftovers. It was freaking delicious, dude. This is why I encourage you to, you know, try things that maybe you're interested in trying more than once before you say no to them. Because I'll admit, until yesterday, as a 30-year-old, I had a 22-year-old me's opinion on hot pot. And even when we were gonna have it for leftovers, I felt like a little bit of the picky eater influence come out. It was like, nah, I don't really know. I just don't know if it's gonna be a satisfying meal, you know? Like, I could be having chicken nuggets instead. But, you know, I bit the bullet as an adult because it's the mature thing to do. And then I ate it and I was like, this is delicious. I would suggest it. I would recommend it. Now, there's a couple things you might not need to do that with. For example, when I was in Korea, I ate a lot of a side dish called bondegi. It's silkworm pupa. It's not commonly consumed. The way I kind of think of it like, you know, there's like weird foods that people in North America eat. And people in North America think of them as weird. That's kind of how I saw bondegi in Korea. Is like, you know, old Korean people kind of liked eating it. And then most young Korean people that I talked to were like, I don't really like it. It's kind of gross. And I know that you might... trying to not be prickly in the way that I say this. A lot of people are like, you know, bugs are the future of protein. And that's true. But I'm the one who ate the bugs. You didn't eat the bugs. And you're telling me, like, hey, don't be such a snob about the bugs. Why don't you go to your local Korean grocery store and buy some bondegi? Okay? I've already put my money where my mouth is. You gotta eat, like, probably 1,500 silkworm pupa until you catch up to where I am. So don't try to give me this, I don't know, performative future-proofing here when you haven't even bitten the bullet yet, if you know what I mean. But I do think of it as the same in North America. Like, my grandfather loved to eat pickled eggs. You can imagine if you were in North America, you know, and you were from another country, you saw an old man eating pickled eggs. You'd probably be like, okay, it's weird. You talk to like a 14-year-old kid, you'd be like, why do you guys eat pickled eggs over there? He'd be like, what the heck are you talking about? All I eat is Chick-fil-A. You know, it's not necessarily indicative of the whole country is all I'm saying. But yeah, I don't need to try that anymore. I've OD'd on that. I'm fully calibrated, don't get me wrong. Apart from that, it's a really relatively anecdote-light situation, I gotta admit. Been playing some Mario Maker. It's been fun. Played PUBG on Team Unity last night. It was a great time. Can I tell you something embarrassing? It's not going to have direct spoilers for the movie Avengers Endgame. But I will say, if you haven't seen Avengers Endgame at this point, I don't think... You have to submit a written form to explain why you care about spoilers, and yet you have not seen the movie in the 3 months that it's been in theaters. I'm sorry to tell you, that's what... if you're gonna care about spoilers, you also have to demonstrate that you're willing to meet the Russo brothers halfway and see the movie in theaters. You know what I mean? Yo, that's way too fast. But anyway, you know, I'm not shy. I'm a little embarrassed, but I'm not shy about the fact that, you know, when I see movies in theaters, I mean, it's been a kind of a recurring theme lately. I'm a little bit more open to being emotional, you know? I tear up from time to time, and I definitely teared up during Endgame. And it wasn't really because of it being sad, or definitely not like introspective in any way. But the combination of like the score and the gravitas of the moment, and then the second effect is like, oh my god, I'm seeing in theaters maybe like my own adolescent like wet dream of what a movie would be. It was all of that mixing together. So yeah, like, it got me. And then yesterday, I saw a meme that had a scene from Endgame with text overlaid on the characters to make it about the Area 51 meme. And despite the fact that it was designed exclusively to be humorous and was admittedly funny in that meme-y sort of way, it still got me. Even during, like, while I was looking at the meme, and the meme video is like 2.5 minutes long, I was like, yo, this is pretty good, but also at the same time, dun 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 dun. You know, I think that's how you. I mean, here's the thing. It would be very easy for me to just be like, ah, I'm stupid. Oh, look at me. I'm a big bald baby who likes the Avengers movies. But I'll go to bad, dude. I think there's a lot of people in the same boat as me. I don't want to denigrate us, you know? We're all in the same boat here. Who doesn't like the Avengers films? Okay, I mean, you didn't have to all come forward simultaneously. I'm just saying. Oh, wait. It's an XL floor. All right, hold up. So that was the pivotal moment of yesterday. Sorry, I have a message on the Discord real quick. Let me see if it's important. It is not important. It is Mathis telling me that one of the new Star Wars movies is written by the same guy who wrote the Justice League. Look, you know, and this is not insincere. I feel like there's like a flow chart that you can go through about the importance of somebody to the work, if that makes sense. Well, I'm gonna go down, because what I was gonna say is, you know, like, same director definitely has like a huge influence. Same writer probably has like a medium influence. Same producer, probably completely irrelevant, or close to irrelevant. But actually, I was thinking about this because well, I more so am like, I don't know if you can even glean anything about the quality of something from the writer. And it takes, you know, I'm obviously not a DC fanboy based on literally what I was saying mere seconds ago. So, you know, don't take this as, like, just unabashedly fanboy coming to the defense of, well, or Star Wars, for that matter, I guess, coming to the defense of any of this, stuff, but either way, wasn't it, like, the guy who made Chernobyl, not the accident, but the television program, didn't he have, like, a horrible track record prior to this? Like, he made, like, Big Mama's House 2 or something like that, and then they're like, yeah, okay, Chernobyl also. It's kind of, the same with the Russo brothers to some extent, you know? They made, they directed a few episodes of Arrested Development, and then they're like, hey, you know, how about Captain America? And Marvel was like, sure, why not? And now they're like, you know, nerd heroes. You know, they had a job and they did it. I gotta look up, here's, you go IMDb, Chernobyl. Then you go Chernobyl TV miniseries. Then you go, okay, who created it? Craig Amazin. What else did he work on? Oh yeah, there it is, dude. He wrote Scary Movie 3, Scary Movie 4, Superhero Movie, The Hangover Part 2, Identity Thief, which you might not remember. Yeah, I'm assuming you remember all the other ones, which are very bad. The Hangover Part 2, Identity Thief, which was horrible. Jason Bateman, Melissa McCarthy. The Hangover Part 3, The Huntsman Winter's War, and then, oh yeah, by the way, Chernobyl. Like, maybe the most critically acclaimed miniseries of the past few years. You know, you gotta, and I feel kind of the same way about, like, Damon Lindelof, you know? He made, well, he didn't make, but he was a writer for Lost, and that's where he started to get a reputation for being able to create, like, these awesome mysteries. And then when you're like, okay, Damon, you got me. Where are we going from here? And he was like, I don't know, I'm out. They was all a dream? And then, you know, he worked on Prometheus. And people were like, ooh, Damon, you set up a pretty interesting mystery in Prometheus here. Where do we go from here? And he was like, I don't know, I'm out. But then, he either, and this is where my whole bit falls apart because I'm ill-informed. He did either the OA or the 100. One of those shows about, you know, human beings have disappeared and it's now society has changed forever. What happened? The Leftovers, maybe. I can't. There's a few different shows that are kind of in a similar vein. I know he did one of them, and people were like, "It's actually insanely good." You know, there's always a chance for redemption. If Craig Mazin can write 2 Hangovers, 2 Scary Movie films, a sequel to The Huntsman, Identity Thief, and then come out with Chernobyl, like, nobody in the world of creative media is beyond redemption based on their resume alone. Those are my 2 cents. Might as well just, yeah, I mean, like, we're gonna re-roll. Any item we get, we don't even want it to be good because we're just gonna re-roll it again eventually anyway, you know what I mean? But yeah, dude, that Avengers moment still got me. And I was, like, laughing at myself when it was happening because it was just a meme about all the different demographics that are gonna storm Area 51. And simultaneously, I was like, this is probably the most emotional moment ever put to film. It feels very weird, too. I know this is a recurring topic of conversation, but it's kind of like once you get to the womb and Isaac, you pretty much just got to pick a direction for where you're going, commentarily speaking. But I grew up, you know, action movies were just bad. And that's not necessarily fair, because a lot of great action movies came out in the 90s, and a lot of very, very good action movies came out in the 1980s, you know, that I could have watched during my adolescence. But, you know, it was like, you know, movies where somebody shoots a gun are for, you know, unintelligent film watchers. Or let me rephrase. The number of times a gun is shot correlates inversely to the quality of the picture. If somebody shoots a gun once in a movie, you're like, oh my god, this must be the best Oscar. If there's 100 gunshots, you're like, ah, it's okay. If there's 1,000 gunshots, you're like, ah, it's drivel. Opiate of the masses. But, you know, what was the platonic ideal for art? I don't know. It was a movie in which, you know, it's something like, oh, what's the name? I'm ruining, again, I'm undermining my whole bit. Oh, it's, the ideal movie is like, Julie and Julia. Or Jules et Jim. That's it. Julia and Julia is the movie about Julia Child. I'm talking about Jules et Jim. You know, it's a young man and his wife go on vacation, and then he and his friend discover things about one another quietly while staring pensively at the Swiss Alps. You know, that was like, oh, you must be a real artiste. And I do appreciate stuff like that. But I can't deny that in terms of emotion, you know, previously, what's the most emotionally rich moment I've ever seen in a film? 1994's Before Sunset, a film where Ethan Hawke meets Julie Delpy. The chemistry is undeniable. They've only got, you know, 16 hours or so they're going to spend with one another in Paris. And there's a scene in which, you know, early on they got this great chemistry. They're listening to records at a record store, and Ethan Hawke keeps sneaking glances over at Julie Delpy, and then when he's not looking, she does the same to him. And you're like, oh, this scene says a lot without a single word being spoken between either of the main characters. That was before. Now the most emotional moment in movie history is when in Captain America Civil War, Ant-Man gets really big. They're on the same level for me. That's not the actual scene, of course, but I mean, he does get large in Civil War, but I still feel like there's a statute of limitations on Endgame, you know? I mean, I feel like there's a statute of limitations for spoilers on, like, all movies, and just because Endgame is big doesn't mean you should gleefully spoil it. You get the idea. I mean, to be honest, if you cared about spoilers, you should have seen it by now. But you gotta, you know, you gotta make allowances, maybe. You got young kids. You don't want to... Please, God, just give me the reroll here. You got young kids, you don't want to, you know, go to the theater with them. I understand. You guys have theaters that do, like, showings for parents? I think that's a thing that didn't exist when I was younger, that I think is really cool. I think it's really cool because it's actually, it's like a reward for the polite parents, if that makes sense. Ah, this is horrible. Impolite parents will still, and I mean this is, I hesitate to call somebody impolite. Impolite parents will still take their baby to see a movie, even if there are parental showings, or even if there aren't parental showings. They're like, well, I want to see the movie, but I don't want to pay for a babysitter, so I'll just take him. Selfish. I remember I was like 13 when I saw Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring in theaters. There was like a 4-year-old kid. There's a scene in that movie in which a half-man, half-orc implies that they're gonna eat, I think an orc, right? He's like, looks like meat's back on the menu, boys! And then they all laugh. And I just remember, even as a 13-year-old, I was like, hey, dude, sorry. Your mom didn't really look into this film or the rating given to it by the MPAA before she brought you here. But if you were a polite parent and you're like, you know, you took it upon yourself to not inconvenience other people except in situations where it's strictly necessary, you just didn't go to the movies for, like, you know, several years unless you got a babysitter. But then, you know, it amps up the cost of seeing a movie in general. I don't know, it's probably like $500 now to get a babysitter, dinner, and, you know, 2 movie tickets. You get the popcorn, you gotta refinance your house. What's the deal with airplane food and movie tickets are expensive? Anyway, it's a hack bit, that's the point. Excuse me. Really though? Just lost like 3 HP on the same room. I want to do it again because I'm mad. I actually thought there was a chance we could just be killed there. Where was I? There was something I was going... Oh my god, not again. That's... I can't do it, dude. That's... I shouldn't be there. And I have to... I feel sometimes... I am being sincere with you when I say this, even though it'll sound disingenuous, perhaps. I don't feel like I'm, you know, superior to my community in any way, you know? I don't feel like I'm more mature. I don't feel like I'm smarter, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes I do feel that I might be a little bit older, and as a result, I feel like it can be an interesting perspective to get the idea that, you know, some of the opinions I had when I was a younger man, you might hold now as well, and I give you some perspective on how that's changed as I've gotten older. One of the things that comes up now and then in conversation regarding that fact is little babies on airplanes. I always find it a little cringeworthy when, you know, young people, doesn't have to be men, but I'm speaking from my own perspective, when young people are like, it's ridiculous that there's a baby on this airplane. There should be if I ever made an airline, there would be a clause that you couldn't take babies on the airline. It would be babyless flights. People would pay extra for it. Okay. You might say NL is a little hypocritical. Why is it not okay to bring a baby into the movie theater for a non-baby showing when it's okay to bring a baby on an airplane? Here's the deal, okay? You don't have to see a movie. A movie is a recreational thing. You know, just because a movie came out, there's other ways to see it. You can wait 6 months. It'll be out in video on demand. You know, etc., etc., etc. Dude, we just gotta chill. I need a reroll because Isaac's heart is killing me here. Daddy Longlegs, please. Please, keep it up. Whenever I see a baby on an airplane now, I think people, and probably myself when I was younger as well, were perhaps under the impression that that baby is on the airplane for leisure reasons. What I always think of now is the idea that that baby is on the airplane. Please, God, just get me out of here, dude. I really tried everything to not be on this room. It's a critical path, unfortunately. Well, let's give it a try. I now almost always just assume that baby is like going to meet its grandparents across the country for the first time ever. You know? There's a difference between, I don't want to get a babysitter. I'm going to take, you know, little Jeffrey to see Midsummer with me. And inconvenience a lot of people in the theater to begin with. Versus, hey, you know, Opa and Oma have never met little Jeffrey. Why don't we go across the country? Like, let me put it this way. I know it's a meme, but like, we live in a society. The world is like one big apartment building, okay? Yes, it would be nice if nobody that lived in your apartment building ever bothered you. Trust me. I would be over the moon if that were the case. My neighbors bother me frequently. Sometimes it's not fair. Sometimes it's late at night. Sometimes it's not for a good reason. But sometimes the annoyance just comes from them living their lives, you know? I think it's kind of like it's collateral that inevitably happens just in the way people live their lives. I'm sure I'm annoying some of my neighbors with the fact that I, you know, yell sometimes during the LSS. So the way I always think about it is like, you know, the world is one big apartment building. The golden rule applies. You should treat others the way you want to be treated. But you gotta have some perspective on that as well. You know? Imagine that you were the young family with the baby. Would you want other people to be judging you because your baby was crying? What are you supposed to do? That's what babies do. The happiest baby in the world still cries. Unless you're one of those people that was like, my mom says I never cried. Okay, congratulations. You know how people think it's lame when you're like the high school quarterback and you brag about that until you're in your 50s? You're bragging about the way you acted as a baby, dude. Just relax. Have some perspective. You didn't have any control over that. Oh, yo, congratulations, you were a quiet baby. What was that like? Oh, you don't remember? No kidding. Anyway. Dude, how did this run become so suck? I don't know. It's wild. Anyway. It's the golden rule, you know? Now, you might say, like, if I treated others the way I want to be treated, I wouldn't bring my baby on an airplane. See, that's an unrealistic argument, I think. In my opinion. I mean, that's just kind of sad. Like, because my family lives across the country. So for me, I'm like, you know, oh, sorry, Mom. No, I can't bring our child to see you. Yeah, I know it's your first and only grandchild. No, but I'm worried that some jerks on the airplane are going to judge me for my baby crying. Yeah, I know there's nothing I can do about it, but I don't know. There's nothing more I can do about it. I'm paralyzed by my politeness. I just think, you know, it's not that you can't be mad at parents for bringing a baby to a place and having the baby cry. It's just that there's certain places where it's, you know, relevant. It's unavoidable. An airplane is one. A hospital. For you wouldn't go into a hospital and be like, man, would somebody shut those babies up? Airplane's not quite on the same level, but you get it's close. Man, who brought all these kids to the daycare? I'm just saying. I think of it the same way too, because when I was a younger man, I used to get very annoyed with the pace at which elderly people move, and it's a very rude thing to say. The only reason I'm bringing it up is because I recognize the follies of my younger years and would like to spotlight that harmful way of thinking. You know, I think there's something, you know, that is just wrong-ish with your brain when you're like a 20-year-old man. And you're like, well, I can move quick. Why don't they move quick? Why do old people like moving so slow? Maybe because their joints have 60 years of wear on them that yours don't. You know what I mean? That being said, when an old person tries to pay for a triple-digit grocery bill with change at the store, I'm still just like, come on, credit cards, they've existed for like 30 years. You gotta get on. Anyway, thanks for watching. We're getting into some harmful territory. If you enjoyed the episode, click the like button. Helps a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I will see you next time. See ya!